Hello, students. In today's lecture, we are going to begin with a new topic that is soil pollution. So, topics or the subpoints which we are learning with this soil pollution are first, we are going to see what is soil pollution along with the definition and what are different aspects of soil pollution. Along with that, two more points that is, what are sources of soil pollution and what are different ways by which we can control the soil pollution. So first we'll see what is the definition of soil pollution. Soil is nature's dispose all. So by the sentence, what we can understand that anything, even the water, even human beings, all the living creatures are getting disposed, or even a solid material or anything get all this material is getting disposed on the soil only. It is sewage treatment plant, it is water purifier, at times also a pollutant. So sewage treatment plant that all we know it is the constructed on the land only. Then water purifier that the bigger plants. Okay, that is constructed by municipal corporation. And at the same time pollutants. So what are different types of pollutants? Maybe any kind of chemical pollutant, maybe in the form of pesticide, fertilizer, maybe any kind of corrosive material which is generated in the factory, maybe biomedical waste that is thrown on the soil layer, okay, or dumped inside the soil layer. So all these things are considered as a pollutant, or these things we usually dispose on the soil layer. The soil acts as a physical, that is sieving action with chemical absorption and precipitation, and biological filter, that is decomposition of organic waste material, as well as the receptacle for all materials buried and disposed on beneath and on the surface. So as we know, act as a physical component, or the we can say filter. That means the rain or any solid or liquid material may drain out, not drain out, drain in inside the soil layer according to their the percolation activity, or we can say the according to the molecular size. Okay, that is the sieving action or the property soil has. The next one is chemical properties. That means adsorption and precipitation. Suppose any kind of chemical is getting mixed, any kind of fertilizer, heavy metals, these are getting percolated or get mixed with soil. So they may adsorb to a soil particle, they may attach, okay, they may form a particular bond with the soil particles. Precipitation, that means either they form by the reaction of the soil, or we can say the chemicals which are present already in the soil, and if even if we add or the pollutant or the chemical pollutant, then they may form a precipitation. Okay. Along with that, with this rainwater, certain reactions can take place. Okay. And biological filters, that is decomposition of organic waste material. So that is a main factor which is playing important role in the ecosystem. That is decomposers, or which are living at a particular temperature, that includes the microbiota or the microorganisms which are decomposing organic waste material. That's why it is said as a biological filter, because by the decomposition, the complex form of organic material are getting converted into simpler form, and this simpler form material is easy to uptake for plants, and these components or these elements are important for plants for their growth. For example, ammonia. So ammonia is freely available in any most of the habitat, maybe in the aquatic habitat, okay, maybe some form percentage even in the air, okay, and some percentage in the soil also. But ammonia, it is not the direct form that plants can use. So what is the way by which plants can use that ammonia? by certain microbes. Okay, that those are called as a nitrogen fixing microbiota or microbes. Okay, so there is a proper mechanism that ammonia by these microbes, that my nitrogen is getting fixed from ammonia into nitrate. So this form, the nitrate form is available or the plants can take uptake easily. Okay, and that is required not only for the growth of plant but for other metabolic activities also, even for the formation of plant hormones also. So likewise, these three factors, okay, or by these three things or filters are present in the soil, or the soil is acting as a filter. So we can dispose all the things. That means not only the abiotic factors are present on the soil layer, biotic factors are also present on the soil layer. But ultimately, what we are doing, we are decomposing or try to dispose all the things on the soil layer. So soil has an intimate and extensive role in people's effort to maintain a suitable environment as a waste disposal site and to minimize pollution. Okay. So nowadays we are taking efforts for the control of soil pollution. Now, before starting to a soil sources of soil pollution, uh, what is the need to say? What is the need to control soil pollution, or why to study soil pollution? That is a more important thing from the environmental aspect. As we know that we are disposing things on the soil layer, but more important thing is we all are the all living organisms. We are dependent on the soil layer because most of the region or the part of the earth is covered by the aquatic ecosystem. Next thing is, whatever the percentage of land is available right now on the earth, out of which that less percentage is available, or it is the land is fertile for the cultivation of anything. So, and the population is growing. So, as the population is growing, the food demands are also increasing. And in comparison to that, the land which is available for the cultivation, okay, it is as proportion to that, it is very less. Now, next thing is that even if we, because of any pollutant, and the soil is getting polluted, okay, we cannot reverse the status of that soil again or as the same. Okay, so it is not the quick reaction or any magic that the soil status. Okay, if we add something different material, and the soil status will bounce back, okay, or will come back within a short period of time. It is not possible. It will take so many years, and along with that, the quality of the soil you will not get again as it was present previous or it was earlier the same. So that's why it is important to study a soil pollution. That means as being an educated person, we can control or we can have some sense that we should not throw these things on the soil, okay, to maintain the soil structure or soil status. What are the sources of pollution? Soil pollution usually originates from the development of industries in intensive agriculture associated with modern system of cultivation, like use of high analysis chemical filters, use of pesticides, use of sewage, sludge, city compost, and other industrial waste. Okay, so soil pollution originates from that all we know. These are the main sources. That is effluents which are coming from industry. Then agricultures pollutants are maybe fertilizers or pesticides. The pollutants which are present nearby human habitation is sewage, sludge, and compost, that is garbage, okay, and other industrial waste. So all are contributing to a soil pollution, or we can say these are the sources of soil pollution. The contaminants produced by industrial processes are reach the soil by three ways. Okay. The first one is through the air. So gaseous and particulate contaminants are emitted from chimneys and exhaust are or are depleted soil environment. That means even the material or the gaseous products which are eliminated or the emitted out from the, that is chimney and exhaust, even by through the industries, even through a nuclear power plants. Okay, all are responsible for the soil pollution, because from the air they are reaching to the soil layer, because settle down on the soil layer, and if they percolate or they get absorbed through the air and they adsorb, then we can say this one is a resources are responsible for soil pollution. The next one is through drainage system. Industrial effluents and water drainage from soil and rubbish heaps either washes direct on the nearby fields or enter the local streams and rivers and ultimately enter into the soil. Okay, so even though we are saying if the effluents are coming directly to soil, then only soil pollution is possible. It is not the case. That means the industrial effluents or any water drainage, they are eliminating or they are trying to dump that effluents or water, or the polluted water, on the nearby water body. Okay, if that water is used for the different activities, and even if there is a stream which is passing nearby this farmland or any other human habitation, and that water is passing nearby that habitation or the farmland, then of course that pollutants are getting incorporated into the particular habitat or the in the farmland. So that is through drainage system, or we can say through aquatic habitat also, the soil pollution is possible, or that may be a way by which pollutants are reaching to a soil. The next is through direct mechanical or gravitational effects on the soil. So solid materials like refuses from mines, animal slurries or sewage sludge are dumped directly onto the agricultural land, and thereby creates soil pollution. So because of the gravity, the certain materials can come and percolate inside the soil layer. So examples are from the mines. Okay, so refuses from mines that may contain heavy metals, okay, or any particular amount of substance which is toxic or hazardous to human beings. Then animal slurries, sewage sludge, okay, and agriculture land. If there is a landscape is there, okay, that's why from that source, because of a gravitational force, the pollutants are getting mixed into either nearby water body or directly on the soil. Okay, even though they are passing from a high point, they are getting mixed with the soil particles. Okay, and nearby water body. And if a water body is polluted, then of course agriculture land and the other soil layer or the region is also getting polluted. Once pollutants enter and are incorporated into the soil, their concentration in the soil are continuously increasing and accumulating as toxic to all forms of life, like plants, microorganisms, and human beings. So, what is the meaning of this sentence or this statement? That once the pollutants are incorporated in the soil layer, their concentration in the soil increasing, continuously increasing. So, uh, that the two terms we have already understood, that is biomagnification and bioaccumulation. That means once these pollutants are incorporated in the soil layer, gradually in the different trophic levels of ecosystem, the accumulation of that pollutant takes place. Okay, and ultimately when it reaches to a topmost consumer, then we can say it is a biomagnification. So that's why bioaccumulation is possible. So different forms or the microorganisms are getting affected, plants are getting affected, different animals or the human beings, okay, all trophic levels of the ecosystem are getting affected. That's why it is hazardous. Now, what are causes and effects of soil pollution? So first one is pesticides. Okay. So pesticides includes insecticide, fungicide, herbicide, rodenticide, nematicide, and many other chemicals like disinfectants, antibiotics, defoliants, chemostimulants, and juvenile hormones. So the pesticide is not only the one chemical or there is only one range according to the which animal or organism is attacking on the plants. Uh, that wise, the pesticides are classified or they are used for a particular purpose. So insecticide means if particular insect is a pest. For example, mango stem borer. That means uh, the insect you must have seen in the mango stems. Okay, that is a big one. They are boring inside the mango stem. They are making holes and taking all nutrient materials from the plants. That likewise, suppose any insect is responsible for the damage, then the pesticide which is used to kill them or to control them is called as a insecticide. Same fungicides, that is for fungus. The next one is herbicide. You must have observed in the farm that is excessive plant or the unwanted plant are growing between two plant rows. Okay, for example, Congress grass or other plants. Okay, so to control them, the herbicides are used. The next one is rodenticide. Rodent are small animals, for example, rat or mice, and nematicides, the small parasitic worms which are harmful for the plants. That means they are mainly attacking on the shoots of the plants. So these are acting as a parasites. And many other chemicals like disinfectants, antibiotics, defoliants, chemostimulants. That means to maintain the plant status or to maintain the plant healthy. That is to kill the microbes, to maintain the immunity, then to sterilize the particular area, and to give the hormones. So all these things, pesticides and different chemicals are used. Okay. Now, many of these chemicals are deadly, not only the intended or particular organisms, but also other life forms, including humans. That means these chemicals are not only harmful to the particular insect or fungicide or the targeted organism, but these are getting accumulated in the different organisms also. Okay? So some can be bioaccumulated by lower organisms, that is aquatic organisms, plant life, and increase in the concentration successively up the food chain until toxic concentration are consumed by higher animals, for example, birds and mammals. This increase in a concentration up to food chain is called biological magnification. The same thing which I have discussed with you, that the toxic chemical it is accumulated in the any microorganism plant life. Okay, and the concentration is increasing or the successively up the food chain until toxic concentration are consumed by higher animal, because as we know the each organism or the each trophic level is dependent on the other. So this bioaccumulation is leads to a biological or magnification or biomagnification. When pesticides are applied in a soil, they undergo following reactions. So chemicals may vaporize and be lost the atmosphere without chemical changes. So the pollutants are entering inside the air, may be absorbed by soil colloids. Okay, that's mean they are percolating and they are forming colloids. May move downwards through the soil in liquid or solution form and be lost by leaching. Okay. The other thing is may undergo various chemical reactions with the soil environment or on the soil surface and may degraded by soil microorganisms. So even though they are getting degraded by soil microorganisms, the bioaccumulation takes place. And as we know, the bioaccumulation leads to biomagnification. So that is a main disadvantage, or we can say a cause and effect of soil pollution. Okay. So the next one is, as a major concern, particularly about chlorinated hydrocarbons like DDT, aldrin, heptachlor, etc., is their persistence in soil and their movement into soil water stream through soil erosion and entry in the food chain of various wildlife. Okay? That means even if you are applying this pesticides or using these pesticides nearby or the area which is far away from the water body. Okay. Now what happens? They remain persistence or they remain in the water. Their persistence is high. Okay. That means the ability to live or not live, to remain in the soil is very high. And their movement in the water stream through soil erosion is possible. Okay. And that's how they enter into a either aquatic ecosystem, and through aquatic ecosystem they may enter into a different habitat. Their movement in the soil, leaching water and absorption by plants and changes in the microbiological activity in soil is of great concern. Some of these above pesticides are very persistent in soil, hence cause concern to human beings. Persistence of pesticide in soils is a summation of all reaction, movements and biodegradation affecting pesticides. Okay, so this common thing or the higher use of pesticides, what you where you can observe mostly, uh, that is in the summer season. If you go through a Konkan region, okay, usually what is they are cultivating the mango, okay, and cashew nut. Now, by even you're passing through a road, okay, you can observe the white water which is running through the road. Okay, so what it is, that means they are using that much amount of that a very excessive amount of pesticide on those plants that even the plants are showing the white color or the white cast on them. And what happens because of this excessive that spraying of excessive pesticides, they're indirectly or directly they are getting percolated inside the soil layer. Okay, and if you are doing continuously by years and years, what will happen, your the soil status or the fertility status or the ability is going to reduce. Okay, so that's why the leaching, that means the what can say the degrading the soil layer, soil quality. Okay, and actually leaching is that is the remove of soil by passing liquid material. Okay, so the amount of pesticide is that much, they may leach or they are trying to leaching the soil layer. Okay, so that means that these things or the use of pesticide is so hazardous. So there are general pesticides or the list of pesticides which are used in India. Some of them are banned nowadays, but if you observe the persistence, the approximate persistence in the soil, okay, suppose for example chlorodane 12 years, BSC that is benzyl hexachloride it is 11 years, DDT that is 10 years. Even for all the things, aldrin that is for 9 years. What you can observe, that is a persistence in the soil is for a very long period of time. It is maybe in years or for months. And how can we replace or how can we, what is the any process available that we can remove these pesticides which are able to, that is their persistence is for years and years. So it is very dangerous for the soils. Now the next component is inorganic contaminants. The trace elements concentrated in an irregular way are usually metals, especially the heavy metals. Some are essential for life, some are essential for life processes, but all are toxic to organisms at high concentration. Okay? And as we know, according to the definition of pollution or the pollutant, that the excessive element, though it is a element which is forming or which is in the normal composition of any factor, suppose air, water, and soil. But if it is present in excessive amount, then we can say it is a pollutant. So, as we know, the heavy metals are also present in the soil, but the excessive amount is acting as a or the excessive amount is responsible for the pollution. So, all 76 trace elements are potential pollutants. They are in a number of inorganic contaminants, including heavy metals like Ag, that is mercury, cadmium, lead, nickel, copper, and zinc, magnesium. Okay. Among these, cadmium and arsenic are extremely poisonous. Mercury, lead, nickel are moderate poisonous, and copper, zinc, and magnesium are relatively lower in toxicity. Along with that, the how we can say that this one is pollutant. Their concentration and the toxicity both are playing important role to determine whether the this component is poisonous or we can say hazardous for the human health. Different microbial processes in soil and their interaction with plants may be affected or sometimes altered by the presence of high concentration of different heavy metals like cadmium, lead, mercury, arsenic, and nickel. Besides that phytotoxicity effect, beside their phytotoxic effect, high level of heavy metals may disturb the nutrient balance in the soil and thereby affect biochemical processes and crop yields. Okay. So, how these chemicals or the heavy metals or the inorganic components are acting as a contaminants or pollutants. Now, if the concentration is uh, high or these components are present or the trace elements are present in a higher amount, of course they are getting percolated in the soil layer. And as we know, the plants which are able to live on the soil layer. Hmm. Now, along with the absorption of water or nutrients, plants are absorbing this kind of materials also. Now, what is the effect? These are, as the term is phytotoxic, that means toxic to plants. Along with that, this imbalances the nutrient uh, nutrient status of plant. Okay. Along with that, the whatever the metabolic activities are going on inside the plant, to ultimate aim is to for photosynthesis or to form a fruit and flower. That is going to affect and the hormonal balance or the imbalance can be seen. So these are the common heavy metals which are present inside the soil. Okay? That is arsenic, cadmium, lead, and nickel. Okay. So in the soil, if these are present in zero point 0.1 to zero point 0.4 milligram per kg, in the plants you can observe zero point 0.1 to zero point 0.5 milligram per kg. That means that much amount of arsenic plants are absorbing. Okay, or can be absorbed. Same like the different values are given for the different pollutants. Okay, so if their plants are absorbing that much amount of heavy metals, okay, which are present in the soil, that means it is a dangerous for plants and other human beings also. Because these plants are consumed by microorganisms or herbivorous animals, and then slowly, gradually, it bioaccumulates in the ecosystem, and finally, the biomagnification takes place. Okay? So, it is not hazardous to only one trophic level of ecosystem. You can observe the ill effects on all the members of trophic of the ecosystem. Okay? The reaction of zinc, copper, manganese, and nickel in soil is affected by the pH, so organic matter content and the soil. These cations form chelate in the presence of organic matter, which influences their behavior in soil. The relative strength of chelation is generally copper, nickel, zinc, and manganese. Okay. So all these things or the all these components, okay, are getting affected by pH, organic content, and soil because the cations are forming chelate in the presence of organic matter. What is a chelation? That is types of bondings of ions and molecules to metal ions. Okay, so the different ions may form a bond with metal ions. That is a chelation or multiple bond. Okay, so this type of bond or the chelation process can be observed or can be happen in the soil. Okay, now that is influences the behavior in the soil. Okay, and that is if we see the strength, it is from copper, nickel, zinc, and manganese. So as we know the pH, organic matter, all these are present and altering the reaction. Okay. So what is the result of this reaction or the chelation? The soil status or the soil, you can say the parameters are getting influenced. Application of lead, cadmium, and arsenic pesticides over a long period results in accumulation of arsenic in soil to a toxic level and creates phytotoxicity. Cadmium tends to accumulate in plant leaves of cadmium in soil, which may disturb the nutrient balance in the soil. Okay, and as we know, if there are excessive amount of these elements are present, this will form or this will cause a toxicity even for plants and other organisms also. The next one is heavy metals. The application of potentially toxic elements to the soil through compost, sewage sludge, and other waste material may increase heavy metal concentration in crops. So, application of waste material, including waste sludge, increases PTE concentration in crops in the decreasing order, and that is zinc, cadmium, nickel, copper, and lead, mercury, and chromium. So that was the same. So what it is actually, or how this heavy metals are responsible for soil layer or the soil pollution. Okay. The toxic elements are coming from compost, sewage sludge, and other waste material. Okay, and that's why the heavy metal concentration increases in the soil and in the crops. So application of waste material including sludge increases pt, that is potentially toxic elements concentration in the crops. Okay, that it means because of accumulation the toxicity of the soil may increase, and these are the elements or the heavy metals usually present inside the soil. Okay. Certain potentially toxic elements clearly accumulate in crop plants grown in soil more readily than other sludge or other waste contaminants. And in particular, zinc, cadmium, and nickel are readily absorbed to potentially phytotoxic levels. Okay, so the ultimate toxicity that can be used for the phytotoxicity, that is plant toxicity. The other thing is organic waste. The potential, the pollution potential of organic waste, urban and rural, has become a national and even international problem, especially in relation to soil pollution, because organic waste contain detergents, softness, borates, phosphate, etc. So sewage effluents, agricultural waste like animals and crop residues, etc. cause a serious soil pollution. So most of the things which are available or which are released nearby human habitation. Okay. So sludge also contributes to soil pollution through the supply of live viruses, viable industrial worm eggs, high concentration of soluble salts, various heavy metals, etc. Now, if you see the how much percentage is hazardous, okay, so there is a you can say small percentage of organic waste which is hazardous. Now, why we are saying hazardous, or what is the potential does that part have? As we know, the organic material, that means microbes or any living thing is going to be there or living in the sludge or maybe waste. Okay. So what are these living things? Viruses, then worms or the worms' eggs, and soluble salts or the heavy metals. Now, these viruses are, we can say, responsible for any epidemic or the endemic disease. And if they're spread all over the world, then we can say it is a pandemic disease. Okay. Then industrial worms, eggs. That means the parasites which are present in the soil. Okay. Even though they are getting entry inside the human body through the fecal-oral route, that is through the fecal matter through the mouth. Okay, that is that worms, eggs, or maybe the any stage of the life cycle may attach to particular food and that may enter inside the body. So that's how these worms and their eggs are harmful. Okay, high concentration of soluble salts and heavy metals because these are forming reactions or they are forming chili undergo a process of chilation. The non-biodegradable material and solid non-decomposable waste make a problem more complicated, and that's why we need to solve this problem with the solid waste management. Now, next is fertilizers and other soluble salts. So, accumulation of excessive salts either through application of chemical fertilizer or through application of irrigation water threatens production of crops, particularly in arid and semi-arid regions. So, the concentration of fluorine, selenium, and boron in water also increases due to development of soil salinity and alkalinity and pose a problem to human beings and animals. Okay. So, what is a soil salinity? That means a high concentration of salt in the soil. Okay. And what is the alkalinity? That is, the bases are very high, or the base concentration is very high in the soil. That means pH is high. Okay. So, because of certain chemicals, that is fluorine, selenium, and boron, not the chemicals, we can say elements which are high in the water, that changes the salinity and alkalinity and pose a problem to human beings and animals because the pH is maintaining, pH is playing a crucial role for maintaining the metabolic activities. Okay, even the particular enzymes which are responsible for maybe metabolic activities or any the reaction, okay, they may get activated at a particular pH. For all these things we need a maintained pH of the biological system, and this may get altered by this component. So soil fertilized above the recommended levels are potential source of nitrate contamination in ground or runoff water. So on the other hand, the major source of phosphorus contamination in surface water comes from direct dumping of waste, that is sewage, animal waste, and industrial waste. Because the major source of nitrogen, it is the excreted material, because all or most of the living things are excreting their material which is in the form of nitrogen. Okay, and this the other waste, it is maybe we can say a source of phosphorus, that is from eroded suspended soil from urban agricultural land. Okay, so eroding soil and the phosphorus carrying solid continuously supply phosphorus to water, and accumulation of sufficient amount of salts in the plant root zone may be serious problem due to application of salt laden irrigation water in soil. Most dissolved inorganic chemicals in natural waters are soluble salt, and high concentration of salt are unwanted because reduce and inhibit plant growth. So, what is the summary of this point? That the fertilizers, that is, sorry. So, if we use any fertilizer in excessive amount, then we can say the soil layer or that particular region is contaminated. Along with that, the nitrogen and phosphorus which are coming from the different sources. The nitrogen is coming from many sewage or the waste material of living organisms because they are eliminating their or they eliminating their undigested part or the excreted part. It is in the form of nitrogen. Okay, the if you see the urine of any or test the urine of any living organism, the nitrogen content is very high. Okay, then phosphate is coming from different the industrial effluents and along with the eroded material or any waste. Okay? Now, if that phosphorus, nitrate, and salts, if they are accumulated in the soil layer, this is the most dangerous case. Why we are saying this? Because of any water stream or suppose water is passing by there and it is mixing with the nearby water body, then this accumulated concentration of accumulated phosphate, nitrogen, and salts may enter inside that aquatic ecosystem. Along with that, these elements are, if they are present in excessive amount, are harmful for plants also and aquatic ecosystem also. Okay, this may reduce plant growth because there is a change in pH. Okay, or the alteration in pH. The next point is radionuclides. The main radioactive element in soil are eristonium 90, cesium 137, and in normal soil it is not to be hazardous, but in the event of catastrophic supply of fission products, could toxic soil levels of selenium and cesium 37 cesium be expected. Okay, so radioactive elements are also responsible for soil pollution. Airborne contaminants, that is gaseous emission from industrial areas, burning fossil fuel, automobiles, smelting, and mining. That is the gases which are eliminating or the emitted out from the all this process frequently leads to a soil pollution through entry into terrestrial ecosystem as acid rain and directly as the particulate matters on the soil surface. Okay, because this for nitrous oxide and sulfur dioxide are responsible for acid rain. Okay, so by this gas, they form when they vaporized, okay, and they mix with the natural gases, and through the condensation or by the rain, they are again coming to on the soil layer, okay, or they are falling on the soil. So as we know, these are the acids. So pH is lower, and it is hazardous for the soil. Now, what can we do to control soil pollution? This hazards due to pesticide pollution may be somewhat reduced with the application of organic matter in the soil. Okay, so instead of going for the chemical pesticides or the fertilizers, what we can do, we can shift to organic pesticides. Okay, or we can do organic farming. As we know, we cannot depend completely on the organic farming because the requirement of a food is day by day increasing, okay, as the population is increasing. But some part or the where mm, the for cultivation of particular plant, we need a excessive amount of uh, pesticides or the fertilizer that we can shift or that cultivation we can do by organic way. Then what we can do, the phytotoxic effects of heavy metal in soil increases, especially cadmium, can be controlled by exchanger reaction. That means, can we add any kind of other substance? So by chelation or by adsorption, we can remove or we can separate that heavy metal from that part or from that farm. So besides that, the soil contamination due to inorganic pollutants can be elevated by the elimination of soil application and recycling of toxins in soil. Okay. Then liming reduces the availability of lead and is uptake by plants. Okay. Along with that, that what is liming? That means to treat soil or sometimes maybe water also, that treat with lime to reduce acidity and improve fertility or oxygen level of the soil. Okay, that is a liming. So earlier when people used to do organic farming, okay, they they practices this thing, that is a liming. Okay, that means application of calcium and magnesium or the any rich material. Okay, it is this may be in the form of chalk, limestone, burnt lime, and hydrated lime. Okay, to the soil. So this try to maintain or pH or try to neutralize the acidic pH of the soil, and that's why the oxygen may circulate properly in the soil. Okay, and uh, that is acids from nitrogen. Okay, actually the nitrogen is available in different soil acids. Okay, if that get neutralized, okay, then it is helping for the plant growth. The toxicity of arsenic can be minimized with the application of sulfate salts, zinc, iron, aluminum, which can from their insoluble arsenic components are available to plants. Okay. Another thing what we can do, that phytotoxic effects of cadmium can be reduced with the application of organic matter, okay, or micronutrient fertilizer like zinc and copper, which may interact with cadmium, rendering unavailable to plants. Okay. Now, if there is sewage sludge want to treat, okay, or there is a treatment plant, then before it used to the soil application or then on its application, then crop yield increases through the improvement of a soil physical properties. But the one more thing we should take in a consideration, that to eliminate or keep in mind that microorganisms or parasites are there. Okay? Then sludge-borne organic contaminants represent a relative minor risk to soil fertility compared to agricultural pesticides, because these are living things. So as compared to the pesticides, these things are less harmful. Okay, so by different ways or by using injection or incorporation of such protects in the natural ecosystem, preventing the environmental problems. Okay, the next point is unnecessary pollution should be avoided by judicious use of fertilizer. That means there should be a rules and regulation for the use of any kind of fertilizer. The next one is radioactive elements could be decontaminated by continuous cropping, removal of surface soil, deplugging, leaching, use of and fertilizers and amendments. The use of chelates like EDTA, FADTA, and DTPA is conjugation with algal and fungal cells in most effective in reducing radioactive form of the soil. So EDTA, that we know that the chelates, even for the practical purpose we are using, that is triamine. Okay, and same is FADTA, that is used to reduce the soil the absorb that radioactivity, okay, from the soil. So that is the ethidium diamine tetraacetic acid. Okay, and for fungal it is F. Okay, so that was about the soil pollution. So in this chapter, what we have studied, that is what is a soil pollution, what are different sources of soil pollution, what are effects on different levels of organisms or on the ecosystem of soil pollution. Along with that, how can we control the soil pollution?